Have you ever looked at your modern brushless electric RC and thought, this thing's just way too easy? Well, I've got the solution for you. This is the brand new HPI Vorza Truggy, and it's got a Nitro engine in it. All jokes aside though, guys, I'm really excited about this truck. It's been a while since I've had a Nitro, but I actually started my time in this RC hobby 20 years ago with Nitro, and I've picked them up from time to time since I switched to electric. And this is an all-new Nitro platform that has a lot going for it. This is a Truggy, so it's gonna be nice and stable. It's got a big 4.6cc engine in it, just like the HPI Savage. Got a center differential with front and rear disc brakes, and it's just an awesome looking car. Now, the reason I'm really excited about this is there's just something about Nitro that you can't get with electric. Yeah, it's more complicated, it takes more time to set up, but it's super rewarding. You get that real engine sound and smell, and it adds a layer to this hobby that it's just really hard to get with an electric vehicle. In this video, we're gonna take a close look at this thing. We're gonna take this engine, pull it apart. I'm gonna show you what's inside, then we'll give it a first start. Now, before we do that, let's see what you get with this car. All right, first we get the HPI TF50 transmitter. This is a new remote that they've started including with their new vehicles. It's a pretty good transmitter. Personally, the TF40 that they had before fit my hand better, but this is a very decent RTR transmitter. It's got a nice foam wheel on it, drop-down wheel, all the adjustments and everything you need. Nothing wrong with this transmitter. Also included, we get some batteries for the transmitter, some extra shock pistons, a 4-way tool, some different servo horns to run 24 and 23 tooth servos, a couple other bits and pieces, guides, advertising, and then this really nice full picture manual that tells you everything about the engine, everything about the truck, how to run it, and how to have a lot of fun with it. So you'll definitely want to read this manual. Taking a closer look at this truck, like I said, this is a 4.6cc or 0.28 cubic inch Nitro Truggy. This is an all-new body for HPI, and I think it's a really nice design. The body clip mounts are recessed on the front and rear, so they're not going to get scraped off in a crash. It's got a really cool matte and shiny silver and gray finish to it. Body is okay thickness. Personally, I'd like to see it be a little bit thicker. I'm definitely going to be reinforcing this body. If you're interested in finding out more about the best way to reinforce your bodies, make sure you get subscribed, because coming up, I'm going to have a full video on the best way to make sure you make your bodies last as long as possible, and you're not going to want to miss it. Now, taking a look at the rest of this car, if you're not used to Nitro, this is going to look kind of weird, but it's pretty straightforward. You've got your engine here, exhaust here, we've got a pull start on this engine, air filters here, fuel goes in here. We've got two different servos, the one that you're used to for the steering, another one here for throttle and brake. This has disc brakes front and rear, a place for the battery. This battery runs the servos and the receiver, and then the receiver's in here, and it has a switch to turn it on and off. Other than that, this is a pretty standard Truggy layout. We've got threaded plastic body shocks, 6061 aluminum towers, a 6061 aluminum chassis. I would like to see an option for the 7075 chassis and 7075 towers, just like they have with the Flux version. But for the kind of bashing that you're gonna do with a Nitro, this I'm sure will be just fine. We got nice, big, beefy, thick arms here, dog bones in the rear, CVDs in the front, sway bars front and rear. The only issue I'm really seeing out of the box is that these springs seem a little bit soft. Once we get the battery and fuel in here, I'm not entirely sure these springs are going to be strong enough. Now, once we get this thing tested in its stock form, I'm going to be doing a bunch of upgrades to this thing that you're not going to want to miss. I've got a purebred race engine that's going to go in this thing. I've got some springs, upgraded shock towers, and a bunch of other cool stuff we're going to do. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get this engine pulled out of here. I'm going to pull it apart, show you what's inside, and we'll put it back together, make this thing make some noise. All right, here we have the HPI 4.6 engine. This is a nice, well-built looking engine that should power that Truggy pretty well. We've got the clutch up here, flywheels right behind it. This is your carburetor here above it. Now, we're going to talk more about this engine in the next video, where I'm going to show you how to break in the engine and explain to you why you're doing what you're doing, really dispel some of the mystery behind it. But for now, let's pull this thing apart, see what's inside. Here's the engine all disassembled. I got this thing on a paper towel just to keep everything clean now. Looks like there's a lot of complicated parts here, but don't be too intimidated by this. There are a million videos on YouTube showing how to take all this stuff apart, how to clean it, how to maintain it, how to put it back together, and it's really not that complicated. I'm pretty impressed with this engine for what it is. This is known as the sleeve, and these holes in the sleeve are where the fuel and air go in, and this has got 6 of those holes, so this would be a 6-port sleeve, which is pretty good for an RTR vehicle. Everything else looks nice and clean. It's all well put together, well machined, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now, the main reason I took this thing apart is because I always like to look at my new engines inside just to make sure there's no burrs, nothing left in there from manufacturing, and it just gets you familiar with what's in the engine and what it looks like. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put this engine back together again, get it in the truck, and let's go make some noise.